Bon dia, bonjour, good morning, sabah al khair, buenos días, desde Barcelona, la ciutat del Mediterrani. És un plaer un any més donar-vos la benvinguda des de Barcelona, la ciutat mediterrània més important i referència de l'economia regional. En primer lugar,
First of all, let me give a warm welcome to all of those who are accompanying us here, both physically and online. One more year in this journey through the Mediterranean and its economies, its opportunities, challenges, reflections, the sum of which is MedaWeek. MedaWeek Barcelona is the major annual platform for businesses and an economic benchmark for the Mediterranean. It's a space for hope in these difficult times. I also would like to thank all the speakers and the participants who, through their participation and by sharing their ideas and experiences, embody a major determination to support our common objective, which is to support economic and social development in the Mediterranean and to contribute and present opportunities in this sea of three continents. I'd also like to emphasize that the organization of this event over the last 15 years has been a true challenge. And it's a great example of synergies among various organizations and an example of teamwork of various sectors who are the driving force and the energy behind business capacity and public-private cooperation in the Mediterranean. The fora here will cover key sectors for the Mediterranean, such as, for example, the African continent, its relationship with Europe, renewable energy, the green economy, agriculture and food, social economy, young people, women businessmen, startups, Islamic finance, the hotel industry, the cruise ship sector, as well as new emerging sectors which would provide new niches for growth for our region, such as, for example, the creative, cultural industry, sports, among many other sectors, which will be included here in MedaWeek. Just like the presentation of new initiatives for multilateral European finance and projects to support the regional private sector. Barcelona, once again, is confirmed as the economic capital of the Mediterranean. In spite of the pandemic, the economic crisis, social and health crisis, it is here. In many Mediterranean countries, there are major social and economic tendencies that are moving in a more positive direction and which are counteracting scenarios of fatality and pessimism. Because we can't forget that the major asset of the Mediterranean is its human capital. We must use that energy to reconstruct the region. The Mediterranean's genetic code is rebellious, creative, and curious. It's synonymous with innovation. It has allowed it to overcome many crises and reinvent itself continuously to inspire and offer an ambitious horizon and the possibility of growth and entrepreneurship. The changes are noted in many cities. Initiatives are multiplied. New sensitivities to renewable energy, robotics, and other technologies. MedaWeek Barcelona is once again committing itself to the economic integration of the Mediterranean, its association with Europe, and its linkage with Africa. COVID-19 has shown the weakness of globalization and economic interdependence. Globalization has not been inverted this year. Rather, it has been forced to take stock of itself and change direction, since inevitably there will be a recalibration of the supply chains and trade flows throughout the world. Regionalization is an immense source of opportunities. In this context, The Mediterranean region could become a dynamic north-south production hub. And Europe also has an historical opportunity to influence the development of this new partnership with a geographical dimension that will expand towards the Mediterranean Africa. MedaWeek Barcelona is consolidating itself one more year as the annual platform for this new Europe-Mediterranean-African alliance, a new axis for the future with more than 1.8 billion inhabitants. Because we should never forget that nowhere such as the Mediterranean can the future be written, where paths not only crisscross, but also opportunities and talents. Nowhere like the Mediterranean will the great questions and challenges of our time find a response. Nowhere like the Mediterranean is there such experience with progress and collaboration, and is there so much capacity to make every challenge and every apparent contradiction into an opportunity. For that reason, we can't stop imagining new opportunities. We can't stop joining cultures and capacities and use that synergy to seek out new paths for Mediterranean integration. This process contributes great value to both shores. Often, one forgets that diversity is actually the only thing we have in common. This enormous potential must be understood not just as a space or a point of reference on a map. That talent and potential needs to grow and go farther. We need to open new challenges and new channels for the entrepreneurial and value-generating capacity born in the Mediterranean can go farther. We must transform the Mediterranean into the region of startups, the region of nations that think and act like startups, that lift business spirit as a priority by implementing significant reforms, continuous reforms, to rejuvenate the economy in order to support new entrepreneurs, those entrepreneurs who dare to create, give shape, and imagine. A digital, green, and blue revolution with an innovative culture has started. And it has the opportunity to reinvent the economies of the region and offer an alternative narrative that could give shape to the new Mediterranean and open up major perspectives for economic recovery and regional revitalization. We can't let this great opportunity pass us by. Thank you so much. Now, we will begin the official event, and I give the floor to Ms. Monica Roca, who's the president of the Barcelona Chamber of Commerce. Good morning. Thanks, Anwar. Mr. Ahmed Al-Wakil, president of ASCAME, authorities. I'm aware that there are many here. So let me just say welcome to all of you. I know there are a lot of you here. These languages reflect the richness of the Mediterranean. One more year, Barcelona is highlighting the increasingly decisive role of the city as an economic capital and a bridge among the shores of the Mediterranean. And we do this by celebrating this Mediterranean Week of Economic Leaders, MedaWeek, organized by the Barcelona Chamber of Commerce, along with ASCAME and many other European organizations, Middle Eastern organizations, and African organizations. It's a pleasure to be again with you once again in the 15th edition of this MedaWeek, which demonstrates our commitment with foreign trade and the key role of our capital as a point of connection among the Mediterranean shores. We are starting 3 intense days of debate on the economic world of the Mediterranean. Some debates which will serve to exchange proposals for cooperation, to present initiatives and business proposals. At the same time, look towards a regionalization of the future based on sustainability. COP26 is just over. We're going to speak about innovation and internalization. I would also like to highlight the key role of companies in this reconstruction of a common Mediterranean. We know that more than ever, the empresarial world is going through a period of convulsions because of the health crisis. That's why I would urge you to continue to get involved in these encounters which struggle and fight to reinforce and open new market opportunities for our economy. Because these meetings are much more than a promise of future growth. There's some meetings that have 15 years of demonstrable success. 15 years that have served to build points of encounter among the countries of the Mediterranean, to build a more resilient and stronger economy beyond our borders. I would also like to point out that this desire to build transnational agreements is hardwired into our society. Allow me to engage in a brief historical review. In 1986, the Barcelona Chamber of Commerce inherited leadership on the economic and cultural progress of the Catalan world, which was at that time in the hands of the sea consulates and the Royal Barcelona Trade Board, a legacy which had been marked by transnational commerce. That's why we are now celebrating this 15th edition of the Mediterranean Week in La Locha de Mar, where all Mediterranean trade agreements began. These walls were the historic witness to commerce and relations of Barcelona with other Mediterranean countries. Now, currently, this commercial tradition was reinforced by major multilateral agreements, which have served to project the commerce from the region internationally. Let me give you some positive figures from these agreements. Merchandise trade between the 22 Mediterranean countries where ASCAME works totals 504 billion euros with a aggregate GDP in excess of 1.1 trillion euros. The foreign trade of these countries makes up 45% of the GDP. In addition to trade in merchandise, the investment among Mediterranean countries total approximately 200 billion euros. The south and east of the Mediterranean, with 345 billion euros, is the second major trading partner of the European Union, behind the United States. We need to keep these figures in mind. In spite of these positive results, there's a long way to go. The changes of paradigm tendency and the new configuration of the geopolitical map imply a new set of relations between the Mediterranean and Europe, characterized often by a donor-beneficiary relationship. That's why our task is to promote trade relations on an equal basis, because we know that this change of model, in addition to being the only way for fair and sustainable development, implies the enhancement of innovations, the digital revolution, and the green economy. We need to rethink the relationship between the European Union and the Mediterranean and drive forward a project capable of globally competing among different regions such as the RCEP, the CPTPP, and Canada, and the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and the region. Well, these are the abbreviations. If we can do this, the Mediterranean region could become a north-south production border. And if we can do this, that would mean shortcutting the logistical circuits between the European Union and Africa and reduce our carbon footprint because of our privileged geographic situation. In addition, the relations between countries in the Mediterranean region would help to consolidate and accelerate the process of development of emerging economies, which at the same time would strengthen the Mediterranean project and achieve a greater international projection. To achieve this, we need a greater involvement of the private sector and a firm alliance between the business communities of the Mediterranean. Only in this way can we contribute to the creation of wealth and added value through sustainable development. Let us join forces. We have a lot to gain. Major economies of scale, potential for growth, and new markets of consumers if we decide to open up our borders and strengthen the union among our markets. In 10 years, the Mediterranean could increase its GDP by 30%, and what's more important, it could also increase its health and well-being indicators. This union would attract international companies and create tens of thousands of jobs in a place where unemployment sometimes reaches 30%. It would also increase the GDP by 1 to 3% because of exportation, and this could help lead to an integrated market. One thing is clear. The potential for the interrelationship between Europe and the south of the Mediterranean is obvious. These are decisive times where the role of civil society and business is key. We need to commit to the Mediterranean countries because we need to work together against the threat of economic breakdown and build a common future. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair. And now,
welcome to Barcelona 15 MedaWeek entitled A Future in Common. Our Mediterranean Sea, despite being an intercontinental hub, is still absent from the international economic and commercial sense, despite the obvious affinities and complementarities in sectors such as energy, agriculture, tourism, minerals, human research. In this Euro-Mediterranean region, with a population of 800 million inhabitants that encompasses Europe, Africa, and Asia. The diversity of our region should be a great driver for growth and integration for the economy. The creation of new companies and internationalization of existing one Mediterranean talent without borders create values and inclusive and adaptable skills that cultivate the ability to bring out the best in a diverse environment. The Mediterranean region is located at the point of convergence of three continents, and in which hundreds of millions of inhabitants live. A region with unique characteristics to facilitate world trade. And this is precisely what is the MedaWeek Barcelona aims to reflect. The current situation, the challenges and opportunities and business niche it represents, and gives them the possibility of getting in touch with their future investors. or partners in the sector that most they seem to be emerging in recent years. Future relations between the two shores are based to considerable degree on the ability of private sector companies to increase investment flows of goods produced and traded, since future levels of employment, especially in the South, will depend on the willingness to invest of his bet of private investors, were national or international. At ASCAME, we are not alien to the situation in the Mediterranean. We are and will promote ideas and programs to enhance the role of the private sector in providing solutions. Therefore, we hope that the 3 days of reflection will allow you all to arrive at a relevant recommendation to achieve the objectives of development and integration, as well as conflict and poverty reduction through economic cooperation. The Mediterranean and the EU need a different relationship, a renewal that is dictated in the first place by changes in the world today, be it at the economic, geopolitical, security, or climate level, or pandemic. Times have changed. Climate change become increasingly threatening a context of security tension, imperative to negotiate a next generation partnership. The region needs an economic transformation, and Europe is looking for new sources of growth and to relocate companies that want to return from Asia. It would be appropriate to establish concerted policies promoting an approach based on co-location and modernization of infrastructure in the Mediterranean, but on a more inclusive Mediterranean policy that also helps to talk about youth, women, mobility, energy, academic exchange. The future of Europe will be played to the south, and the destiny of Europe and Africa is linked, and the Mediterranean is the natural space of this axis. We must unite our wills, defend converging interests, bet on better cooperation. We need to build meeting platforms in the Mediterranean. Barcelona and this economic week facilitated this bit. We have to overcome the difficulties and conjecture risks to face the challenges, to break our fears, to understand each other, and draw a common future for the next generation. We must have the courage to look into this wonderful mirror that has always been for humanity, our Mediterranean Sea. Last but not least, This icon event would have never materialized without the input and support of our long-standing partners, the Barcelona Chamber of Commerce, the Union of the Mediterranean, the Barcelona Zona Franca, the European Commission, and tens of Project ASCAME network implements, and our sponsors, but also, like our Mediterranean, it is the people who are the really driver, our wonderful secretariat team led by the coordinator, our coordinator, Mr. Anwar Zibao. Thank you all.
Thank you, President Ahmed Al-Wakil. Ahora al señor Senet Lorenza, presidente del Instituto Europeo de la Mujer.
Señora Presidenta de la Cámara de Comercio de Barcelona, señor Presidente de ASCAME, pleasure to be with you after so many years of collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce and ASCAME.
15 years, it's already something. I have to congratulate especially Admar Sebawi because he's been the driving force of these meetings for so long. And it's my pleasure to be with you in the name of the European Institute of the Mediterranean. We have been associated with these events for these 15 years, and so we try to push further this cooperation in the Mediterranean. We know the role that the chambers of commerce are playing in all these countries in the Mediterranean, and we know how important is the participation of the private sector in this big project of modernizing our societies and increasing the well-being of our people. And we know that this is only feasible through fair play in the economy and the cooperation between the public and private institutions, and therefore taking advantage of the innovative capacities and creative capacities of the private sector represented by the chambers of commerce. So thank you very much for being with us year after year. We think that ASCAME is an extremely important instrument for this integration of the Euro-Mediterranean economies. Well, in this case, we come from a very complicated period after this pandemic, which has somehow put in trouble all our structures. But there are the things that remain, and this cooperation in the Mediterranean remains, and I think becomes stronger because more needed than ever after this period of crisis. And so this MedaWeek is very much timely, and it stresses furthermore the key role of Barcelona and especially therefore the Chamber of Commerce of Barcelona, the key role that they can play to foster this cooperation across the Mediterranean. As Madam President of the Chamber of Commerce was recalling, this comes from a very, very long tradition in Barcelona. This place is especially evocative of this long history of trading across the Mediterranean and putting people in contact, not only on trade, because in this space that was rediscovered a few years ago was the School of Arts created by the Chamber of Commerce and its previous institutions, where many big artists, for example Picasso, studied in his young years. After new school was created a few blocks from here, But in the first time, it was in these spaces that was rediscovered, and we recovered this splendid Gothic art that recalls us of this long history of cooperation across the Mediterranean. After this period of crisis, we salute as well another special event that will take place in the following months, and it is the 14th anniversary of ASCAME. And therefore, I very much salute as well this occasion. I think that this will be a time for catching up all this tradition, not only the historical tradition, but this nowadays tradition to bring forward cooperation across the Mediterranean. This period of crisis has shown how fragile is the international economy, and that we have to change a few of the things. Many companies had been expelled from our region to Asia and to other places, but then with the crisis we rediscovered this is a weakness of our societies, this is a weakness for our economies. And so we have seen the interruption of the value chains, and that we have to rebuild the new globality in a slightly or big different way. And I think that we have to enlarge the scope. We had been dealing with Euro-Mediterranean cooperation. At our institute, since the beginning, we have been accompanying all this big effort that took shape in '95 with the launching of the Barcelona process. So this is the effort together, the European Union and the associated countries south and west of the Mediterranean, to build this area of peace, stability, shared economic progress, intercultural dialogue across the Mediterranean. And we see that then we have gone a step forward with the creation of the Union for the Mediterranean. At the beginning, you know, that was the creation pretended to be the Euro-Mediterranean Union. Then wisely was said, we are not yet there. This is a process and continues to be a process, because big changes like that, you cannot transform it in terms of years. Sometimes it takes generations. And therefore, very wisely, I think, was created the Union for the Mediterranean, because we are building this new Mediterranean. But after the COVID crisis, we have discovered that to strengthen our societies, to strengthen our economies, we have to rebuild the globality in a different way, because the world of the future will be the world of big economic regions in the world. Some of you have mentioned that one way or another, and there will be big regions integrated inside, comprising into that region a part of the developed world and part of the developing world. And this will happen in the Americas. It's taking place already in the Americas. This is happening in Southeast Asia and Asia, and this is happening, but has to be put forward in our region. And this is the cooperation and progressive integration of Europe, the Mediterranean countries, and Africa. And I think it was a very good idea to include in the program of the MedaWeek the consideration of Africa, because our future cannot be separated from the fate of Africa. It is not sustainable. The welfare state in Europe that we have built for decades, beautiful, is not sustainable if we are not taking care of how people in Africa can live in a decent way. This will not be sustainable in Europe without taking care of the whole of this economic region that we have to build together. But then we discovered that the Mediterranean is playing a key role in this big economic region in the new globality, because it's just at the center of this world. And this is how I think that the cooperation of Europe with the Mediterranean has to be enlarged with the cooperation of the Euromed plus Africa. And this is how the same evolution of these MedaWeeks along the 15 years that we have been celebrating that is pointing to the right way. Because Africa was not at the beginning in the agenda. And now we have introduced it because the necessity of it. And so I will not take a longer time, but encourage all the people participating. We know how many different forums are taking place for the green and renewable energy, agriculture and food, healthcare, women entrepreneurs, social economy, forum, Islamic finance, etc., creative economy, blue economy. Well, of course, you may bring in all colors you want, green, etc. Colors is a beautiful thing. This is how we think that from the Mediterranean, all Mediterranean countries, we have to acquire that feeling that we are at the key point of this big cooperation that will shape the world of the future, and we have the best of the opportunities in this sense. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Florenza, and thank IMED this cooperation with us in MedaWeek and other issues last 20 years, I think. Ara, al Pau.
Now, the commissioner from the commissioner for economic cooperation in the Barcelona City Council.
In Catalan, and I come back into English.
Mr. President of the Chamber, ASCAME, members of the Barcelona Chamber of Commerce, thank you very much for this invitation. On behalf of the city of Barcelona, I'm here as a representative of the city, but in the last 15 years, I was a participant. I consider myself at home here, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
And I'll try to be brief, because many things have been said that we are quite a lot of people to talk, but I would like to share with you 4 or 5 messages that I consider that are quite relevant. First of all, even though in this opening we are in Barcelona, now we are realizing what the Professor Greg Clark announced, what was the hybrid cities, the concept of hybrid cities. The city is not anymore a physical place, the city is also a digital place where many things are happening. The same thing we could say about the Mediterranean, about this meeting. No? The Mediterranean is not anymore a place, a region, a physical region. The Mediterranean is a concept, is an emotion also. So it's an hybrid Mediterranean, and more than 12,000 people are registered for this MedaWeek. So we could say that the Mediterranean nowadays, it goes much more beyond what it is from a geographical point of view. I think that this is the first lesson, that we need to change our mindset, that we have to go beyond the geographical borders. Borders are a field to play, but borders are not the place only to be. This is the first message I think is quite relevant. Mr. Senem Florenza and Anwar also talk about the complexity of a world. Probably the Mediterranean is not anymore the center of the world, but in the Mediterranean we can see it concentrates all the major challenges that the world has nowadays. I would like to mention only one, but there are many, the climate change. The experts are saying that unless we do something and we do it fast, we could lose up to 30% of our GDP. So we have to take awareness of what we are talking about. But there are some other challenges like equality, like conflicts, etc., etc. So how we should react, what should be our attitude after these pandemics? And I think that we have to take four actions or 4 attitudes. First of all is ambitious. We are in a complex region, but we need to have the ambitions to change things. We cannot accept the status quo that we have in the region. And if we don't act, and we don't act relatively fast, we are irresponsible. So we need ambitious to do things. Secondly, we need leadership. And leadership is about changing the rules. Again, about the status quo. We need leadership. The institutions that we are here on the table, but we need leadership for society or for companies. We need to change the status quo and to look beyond and to build up new coherences. Anywhere is written that we have to remain as we are today. And my third point is that for this we need new coalitions, new ways of doing things. Innovation, the more globalized is the world, innovation, the real innovation, is taking place in certain local places. The more the world is global, innovation is more local. Barcelona, fortunately, is one of these places of innovation. And I think that we have to make possible that some other cities in the region, there are some others, obviously, but we need to enlarge this concept that the cities are a place for innovation, for social change, for modernity, for social progress, for equality, for diversity. So cities need to make a step forward to lead the new Mediterranean with new coalitions. The new coalitions that now is quite fashionable to talk about public and private partnerships. But we have to go beyond. We need to build up public, private, and social partnership. We need to take on board our civil society groups in order they endorse this process of change. And I would like to finish with two more comments. The first one is that Anwar was saying about creativity and talent in the region. Obviously, the Mediterranean region is a region of talent. We have seen along our history. And talent is the new oil. Talent is the new oil. If we have talent, we could have a brilliant future. But talent is not enough. We need something else. And we need to liberate the creativity that are in our societies. And innovation it generates beyond the institutions. As the Anglo-Saxon says, innovation is in the fringe. It's not in the center. It's in the margins. It's in the fringe. So we need to open up our institutions, the way of doing things, to think out of the box in order to liberate all this talent that is in the region. And we should not be obsessed by controlling what is happening in the region. Because if we have talent and we rely in our people, the Mediterranean has a brilliant future. Let me finish by giving an example of Barcelona. Barcelona is an open city, is a diverse city, is a tolerant city. Up to 30% of our population was not born, neither in Barcelona or in Spain. And diversity has brought us a lot of good things to the city. I think this is a message. Don't be afraid of talent. Don't be afraid of creativity. Let's open spaces for our young people, for our entrepreneurs, for our women, to liberate all this creativity, and we will have a brilliant future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Pau Solonias. And ahora
Now, Pere Navarro has the floor. He is the special representative of the government in the Zona Franca of Barcelona. Thank you very much, Anwar. First of all, I would like to greet Anwar, the coordinator of ASCAME, the president of the Barcelona Chamber of Commerce. Today we're in your home, the European Institute of the Mediterranean Friends, and everybody who's following us from behind the cameras. It's truly a pleasure to be here in this forum, which brings together the major leaders, economic leaders in the Mediterranean, and this is so especially in such a transcendental year as the one we're living through. Let me start by recognizing the slogan of this edition, which is a future in common. We need to say this and say that as often as necessary. If we don't move forward together, we can't advance as a territory. The Mediterranean basin has been and should continue to be one of the key geographic points for economic activity. In this regard, European Mediterranean integration is key for economic recovery. And that's why MedaWeek is so important. We're now at a turning point, emerging from the crisis, and an opportunity to create new models for growth. This is more necessary than ever when we must rethink the Mediterranean so they can be a proactive player on the international scene. Many times we've looked at the Mediterranean basin as a space for crisis, but we must work to make it a true source of opportunity. We have the necessary strengths, but it's important to be able to move in the same direction, to gain a greater notoriety in a globalized world where the battle between the United States and China seems to lead economic activity and relegate the rest of territories to the back burner. In the CZFP, we've been working for many years in closely collaborating with ASCAME to generate synergies through logistics. Undoubtedly, the logistics sector is strategic for this territory and for its integration. And we see how the logistics sector has gained a larger role during the pandemic. With this objective, we've been collaborating for 18 years with ASCAME and with the support of the Barcelona Chamber of Commerce and the Mediterranean Forum on Logistics and Transport, and afterwards with the Mediterranean Summit of Ports. Through the forum, we've been able to analyze the unique positioning that the Mediterranean countries have as international distribution centers. This is specifically it's significant at a time when major changes are coming about in the logistics center. Digitalization, sustainability are key elements which have emerged in these spaces for encounter. Sustainability is also a major element in this MedaWeek meeting, and it's key for that to be the case. Mediterranean must move decisively forward towards a more sustainable future. As was said before, we've incorporated the Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda 2030 in our strategic plan. We're convinced that any business venture, if it wishes to be viable, must incorporate a clear commitment to sustainability. I would like to take this opportunity to confirm to you, if you allow me to engage in some publicity, to tell you that the next International Logistics Forum will take place but from May 31st to June 2nd next year. After the pandemic, we once again are recovering this logistic conference. After 2 years in which the Zona Franca Consortium rethought its events program because of the pandemic, and we have the BNEW event, we think that 2022 is the time to recoup this international gathering. I would like to support you in this common objective, which is situating the Mediterranean basin as a locomotive for economic revitalization. We want to create synergies between countries and businesses to create opportunities for most of citizens. And I would like to give a special vote of thanks. We've said this many times, but the Mediterranean is the place where some thousands of years ago our civilization was born. We talk different languages. We speak different languages. We have different customs. But we have in common a civilization which was born precisely on the Mediterranean. That is our heritage. A relationship between cultures, a commercial relationship, an economic relationship, sometimes a relationship of conflict, and fortunately we're getting over that. But for this heritage become a heritage for future generations, many of us must work to create an inheritance into a heritage. It's not our heritage, but it's something we have to bequeath to future generations. And I want to recognize in the person of Anwar Sahari and Ahmed Awakil, who's the president of ASCAME, because they are two of the major players in making such a 1,000-year-old inheritance a heritage for future generations and for future opportunities. Therefore, thank you to ASCAME, thanks to all of you, thanks to all of you who are watching us digitally. Thank you. Thank you, Pere. And I would like to acknowledge the collaboration of the Zona Franca Consortium on MedaWeek and in other programs and other events that we have push forward together. As you said, over the last 18 years, especially Pere Navarro, the special delegate of the state in the Zona Franca Consortium.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No,
Can you hear me?
pero no es.
Yeah. I'll try to reduce the volume. Thank you, Anwar Zibawi, for organizing such a wonderful gathering. And greeting from Madrid. I would have been very happy to be with you today, but I was attending part of the celebration of the Italian-Spanish long-standing relationship in the visit of the Italian president to the Kingdom of Spain, two great Mediterranean countries that are so important to the future of our region. So that's why I couldn't be with you physically today. Your meeting is quite an important meeting and has become one of the milestones when it comes to discussing the priorities in the Mediterranean, especially when it comes to the very important role of the private sector in empowering the region economically and in every aspect of our future. You have talked, my previous speaker has spoke about the potential of the Mediterranean, the importance of integration, and the need to do more. And after the pandemic, we definitely do agree that we have to do more. And we also have to build back better by focusing on smart, inclusive, responsible, and sustainable post-pandemic recovery. So let me, in a few sentences, give you an overview of where our priority do coincides. And it's logical that your priority and ours are quite the same. As you all know, our political leadership in the Union for the Mediterranean has mandated our Secretariat to focus its work on sustainable and inclusive economic and human development, on social inclusiveness and equality, on environmental and climate action, and on digital transformation, which is a very important subject that you will be discussing during your deliberation. We are also, in the same vein, talking and working and supporting economic sectors that promise a tangible impact and a huge potential of growth for our region. Namely, the blue economy, of course, the creative economy, which has grown exponentially in our region in the last few years and has still a great potential to grow, social economy, of course, and circular and digital economy. We do all that keeping in mind the importance of stressing the important issue of job creation and also the important issue of supporting our micro and small and medium-sized enterprises. We do it through so many initiatives. One of them is the Med for Jobs, and through the UFM grant scheme for employment promotion, which we did as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic. But let me focus on digital transformation because, frankly, the tech divide between the north and the south of the Mediterranean is quite important, both in infrastructure and I must say in skills. So I think your conference today and our effort at the Secretariat and all of us should be working together in order to democratize digitalization and to mainstream it in every single dimension of our activity. Because study shows that only 7% of medium and small size enterprises in the southern Mediterranean shore have a digital presence. 3 or 4% of those have online platform where they can conduct business on it. And this is frankly unacceptable. That's why we at the UFM are working with so many actually partners, including the Mobile World Capital, which is one of the flagship initiatives hosted by the great city of Barcelona, working also with member states that has achieved so many advancement in the sectors. One of those countries is Estonia, which has an impressive record in the field. Another subject they spoke about is the importance of integrating our economy, of more economic integration. And as you know, and especially my dear friend, Mr. Ahmed Al-Wakil, and of course, Sinan Florenza, they know that we have conducted a very thorough progress report on regional integration, which showed that our region is punching below its real weight when it comes to regional integration. 95% of trade is happening within the EU, while only 5% is happening between the EU and the southern and eastern Mediterranean shores. That's why we are mapping the current economic reality. We are presenting a set of recommendations. We are holding follow-up meeting and events. One of those will take place during our next UFM Regional Forum on the 29th of November in order to discuss the transition from policy recommendation into a pathway of implementation. I don't want to be long. I just want to wish you a very successful meet, and I want to address a word of thanks and appreciation to my very dear friend, Mr. Ahmed Al-Wakil, who has been a great force behind this very successful initiative, and wish you all success, health, and prosperity. Thank you very much.
Salud y prosperidad. Gracias.
Bueno, and now, Mr. Mohammed Ahmed Mait, the Minister of Finance of Egypt.
Mr. Ahmed Al-Wakil, President of the Association of the Mediterranean Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Mrs. Monica Roca, President of Barcelona Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Nasser Kamel, Secretary General of the Union for the Mediterranean. Mr. Mohammed El-Hawaji, Minister of Economy and Trade of Libya. Mrs. Maria Reis, Minister of Industry, Commerce and Tourism of Spain. Distinguished guests, it is with great pleasure that I have this opportunity to address MedaWeek Barcelona 2021. Thanks to the joint invitation from Mr. Ahmed Al-Wakil and Mrs. Monica Roca. Ladies and gentlemen, the great city of Barcelona, with its rich mixed history and civilization, alongside hosting the Union for the Mediterranean Secretariat, is a practical reminder to all of us of our common future. A few days ago, COP26 sent to the mankind a clear message about the future of our planet. We believe that there is no alternative than to work together and sharing responsibilities, taking into account the development needs and rights of the developing countries in our joint challenges to saving our world. In Egypt, and towards hosting the COP27 in 2022, we have launched a series of action-planned efforts to fulfill our duty in this area. As a general framework, Egypt completed the preparation of its national strategy for climate change 2050, which will open the way to update its national determined contribution so that the policies, objectives, and the measures encompassed in these contributions become integral to the state development efforts and its endeavor to recover from the repercussions of the coronavirus. In order to encourage the private sector to produce electricity from renewable energy sources, Egypt adopted the Renewable Energy Law in 2014, which introduced several development schemes for the private development of renewable energy projects, including competitive bids, feed-in tariff, and independent power production through third-party access. Moreover, in 2019, we inaugurated Penpan Solar Park, one of the world's largest solar installations, spanning 36 square kilometers of desert and 32 plots developed by over 40 companies from 12 countries. It is a testament to the power of partnership between public and the private sectors and between our countries. Likewise, the government of Egypt has set targets for renewables to make it up to a 42% share of the country's electricity by 2035, more than doubling its current 20% share of contribution. Furthermore, in September 2020, the government closed the Middle East and Africa first issuance of a sovereign green bond of $750 million. This amount is earmarked for a portfolio of green projects about $1.9 billion. In 2020, we have approved 691 green projects with a combined investment volume of around $28.6 billion. And the President of the Republic of Egypt confirmed in COP26 that Egypt is also working towards the transition to clean transportation by expanding the metro, rail, and electric vehicles network, control and sustainable water, preparing the necessary infrastructure for that, and establishing a smart and sustainable cities. Many of these projects were open to both private, local, and foreign investors. The Egyptian government is committed to support the role of the private sector in the development of our economy. This commitment includes creating and developing a friendly environment for private investment to flourish. Lately, as example, we implemented the Advanced Cargo Information System ACI as of October 2021 to facilitate trade across the borders and reduce the time and the cost of trading to and from Egypt. And currently, we are in the process of achieving a fully automated taxation system by July 2022, in addition to a series of other procedures in all relevant fields to modernize society and easing the flow of economic activities, to facilitate the private sector contribution in our economy. Moreover, the Egyptian government encourages the implementation of public-private partnership projects. A list of projects is available. A supportive legislative environment is already in place. Ladies and gentlemen, the Egyptian government is fully committed to economic development in favor of our people, as well as maintaining a stable and sustainable macroeconomic environment for business, including private sector activities. Our plan is to reach private sector-led economy within 3 years, where 50% of the economic activities should be run by the private sector. It is also important to manage that the Egyptian economy was able to deal and cope with the COVID-19 negative impact. In a clear sign of the resilience of our economy due to the implemented economic reform, the IMF stated in July 2021 that Egypt was one of the few emerging market countries that experienced a positive growth rate in 2020 as a result of the government's swift and prudent policy response, coupled with the IMF support. The Egyptian economy showed resilience in the face of pandemic, and we will continue to ensure that our economy is growing. And this year, we are targeting a GDP growth of 5.6%. Looking at our African continent, although it is not responsible for the climate change crisis, it faces the most negative repercussions and the subsequent economic, social, security, and political consequences. Therefore, our president is leading the call to recognize the need to provide the African continent with a special treatment, especially within the framework of implementing the Paris Agreement, given its special conditions and the challenges it faces. Ladies and gentlemen, joint investment between our countries are key elements to surpass the economic, environmental, and development challenges that we commonly face. I believe that the two shores of the Mediterranean can demonstrate to the world an example of solidarity, coordination, and cooperation to reach our goals in a win-win-oriented strategy. In this regard, we have the privilege of the existence of the Union for the Mediterranean that paves the way to accelerating and deepening our cooperation. I hope in the post-pandemic era that we can witness a valuable increase in the labeled projects under the UFM for the benefit of the peoples of the two sides of the Mediterranean. I thank you very much for your attention.
السيد الوزير معايتا bueno, no
Well,
con el
we've
señor
tried to
Dimitriadis,
reach
pero
Mr.
problemas desde Bruselas
Dimitriadis, but there
impide
are
esa
problems
conexión,
in
lo
Brussels
lamentamos
which make it
y
prevent him
agradecemos
connecting.
su participación.
We're sorry about that, and
Y
we
ya
thank him for his participation. And now,
para finalizar
to conclude
el acto de inauguración,
the inaugural event,
la señora María Reyes
Ms.
Maroto,
Maria Reyes
ministra de
Maroto,
Industria,
the
Comercio
Ministry
y
of
Turismo
Industry,
del Gobierno
Commerce,
de España.
and Tourism from the Government of Spain.
Buenos días a todas y a todos. Es un honor participar en la inauguración de la 15ª Semana Mediterránea de Líderes Económicos, un evento organizado conjuntamente por ASCAME y la Cámara de Comercio de Barcelona, que se ha convertido en una gran plataforma para la promoción y el refuerzo de alianzas económicas euromediterráneas y el avance hacia una mayor integración regional. Hoy esta conferencia promueve la región mediterránea en todo el mundo y es, por tanto, una oportunidad única para que multitud de líderes económicos debatan sobre temas relevantes, especialmente aquellos que afectan a los países de la región mediterránea y Europa. Son más de 29.000 los empresarios y empresarias que han participado en las últimas 14 ediciones, una cifra impresionante que contribuye a que se dé visibilidad internacional a la necesidad de una creciente cooperación entre Europa y el Mediterráneo. La crisis del COVID-19 ha puesto de manifiesto la creciente interdependencia de la región mediterránea y ha puesto de relieve la necesidad de abrir nuevas vías para reforzar la cooperación en ámbitos como el cambio climático, donde la región mediterránea es reconocida como un punto crítico en cuanto a sus efectos, la sanidad, la agricultura, la transición ecológica justa, los problemas y desequilibrios demográficos, las disrupciones tecnológicas, el emprendimiento de las mujeres o los conflictos sociopolíticos, entre otros. Todos estos retos requieren de compromisos, requieren de soluciones que sean abordadas con el mayor número de países, por lo que resulta totalmente necesario reforzar la colaboración y cooperación entre los países mediterráneos para poder consolidar una recuperación que sea económicamente justa. Tenemos la oportunidad de decidir cómo queremos que sea nuestra región en el futuro
cooperation.
de
We can
tomar
see
buenas
how our region will
decisiones
be
para
in
que
the
todos
future.
tengamos
We need
más
to
y
take
mejores
good,
posibilidades de
the right
desarrollo.
decisions so that we
Y me
have greater
gustaría compartir
opportunities
con ustedes,
for
como ya lo
development.
hice el
And I would
año
like to
pasado,
share with you,
la
as I
hoja de
did
ruta
last
que ha
year,
adoptado el
the
Gobierno de
roadmap that
España
this
para mirar
government of
con
Spain
confianza el
has
futuro.
adopted to look at the
Un
future
plan de
with
recuperación,
confidence.
transformación y
A
resiliencia que ya está en
transformational,
marcha, con
resilient
ambiciosos
program
programas
that's
de inversión
underway
en
with
movilidad
ambitious
sostenible,
investment
eficiencia energética,
programs
en
for
despliegue de energías
sustainable
renovables o
mobility
rehabilitación de
and
edificios, entre
renewable
otros.
energy,
Pero
among
tan
others.
importantes como
But
las
as
inversiones son
important
las
as the
reformas, por
investments or
ejemplo, la
reforms,
reforma
for
laboral,
example,
de la formación
the
profesional o
work
la ley
reform
para la
or
creación y el crecimiento
vocational
empresarial,
training or
son
the law
reformas mirando al
for
medio y largo
business
plazo
growth
que
are
permiten
reforms for the
modernizar nuestro
medium and
modelo
short
productivo.
long term,
Y
which can
queremos hacer estas
allow
inversiones
us
y
to
reformas con la
revitalize our
participación de
productive
todos, mediante la
model. And we want to
colaboración
do this with the
público-privada, porque
cooperation
sabemos que
from
solo así
everyone,
se logrará
public-private
hacer con
cooperation, because
éxito
only
la
that
doble
way
transición
will we be
ecológica y
able to make
digital
the
fijada por
double
la Unión Europea
digital
y que debería abordarse a nivel
environmental
global.
transition.
Una de las palancas de
One
la
of the
recuperación de
levers
nuestras
for the
economías será el
revitalization
comercio
of our
exterior.
economies will be
Según las
foreign
últimas
trade.
estimaciones
According
de la
to
Organización
most
Mundial
recent
del Comercio,
estimates
el
from
comercio
the
mundial
World
crecerá un
Trade Organization,
10,8%
the
en el
world
año
will
2021,
grow
aunque este
10.4%
crecimiento será
in
desigual
2021,
según las
although this
regiones
growth
y
will
las
be
tensiones
unequal
en las
depending on
cadenas
the
globales de
region and
suministro.
the
Durante
worldwide
este año 2021, las
supply
relaciones
chains. In
comerciales entre España
2021,
y el área
the business
mediterránea
relations
están
between
siendo
Spain and the
intensas,
Mediterranean
creciendo a
are
unos
intense,
ritmos interanuales de
growing
2
at
dígitos, tanto
annual
en
rate,
exportaciones como
two-digit
importaciones de
rates, both in
mercancías
terms of
por los países
exports and
mediterráneos.
imports.
Algunos de los países del
Some
área
of
tienen
the
en España
countries
su primer socio
in the area
comercial.
have their
Y
major
es que
trading
partimos de
partner
bases
in Spain.
sólidas,
We have
nos unen
solid
fuertes lazos históricos e intensos
foundations
intercambios
and
económicos y
intense
culturales, por lo que
cultural
las
and
posibilidades
economic
de desarrollo e
exchanges.
inversión
So the
en esta enorme
possibilities
zona
for
que incluye
investment
gran
in this
parte de África
enormous
son
area, which
inmensas, tanto
includes
para
a large
España como
part
para
of
Europa.
Africa, are
Porque España
immense,
y Europa
both
hemos
for
sabido
Spain and
reforzar
for
una asociación
Africa.
estratégica
Spain
con
and
los
Europe
países
have been able
mediterráneos
to
para
reinforce
liberar
their
el potencial
relationship with
económico
the
de la región
Mediterranean
en
to
beneficio de sus
reap the
ciudadanos,
economic
tal y como se
potential
indicó
of
en
the
las
region
conclusiones
for the
del Consejo
on
Europeo
behalf
del
of
19
its
de abril de este
citizens.
mismo año sobre una asociación renovada
We-
con los países vecinos meridionales, una nueva agenda
A
para el
new
Mediterráneo.
agenda for
Por
the
eso se
Mediterranean.
acordó la
That's
celebración de
why
reuniones
we agreed
anuales
to
entre los
hold
ministerios de
annual
Asuntos
meetings
Exteriores de la
between the
Unión Europea
ministers of
y
foreign
de los
affairs
países
of
socios
the European
meridionales para
Union
examinar
and our
los
southern
avances en
partners
la
to
aplicación de esta agenda.
examine
Espero que estas jornadas sean
annual
fructíferas
advances
y
in the
contribuyan a
application of
lograr
this
los
agenda. We
objetivos que he
hope
citado.
these
Muchas
meetings will be
gracias.
fruitful and achieve the desired ends. Thank you for your
Ministra,
attention.
y ahora,
Madam,
como
Madam Minister, and now, as a sign of Mediterranean cooperation, two chambers of commerce, the Barcelona Chamber of Commerce and the Alexandria Chamber of Commerce, will sign a strategic cooperation agreement.
Each page in a corner.
ما تخلي زمايلنا يقرأوا عشان ناخد الصوت.
Sí, tamam. Ah, sí.
Yes, 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 yes.
Por ahí. A que si se equivocan una mica.
Well, if they get it a little wrong, it's not a great deal.
Si estornudes en aquell moment, fotuda.
If he were to sneeze right now, that would be a problem.
Well,
Thank you very much,
Thank you
and we hope
sí.
that
for
will be
having
the first step to solid cooperation between our members and new members in Barcelona Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, thank you very much. We also hope I think we've announced a lot of challenges that we have in the Mediterranean. So we have a lot to do to meet these challenges. And I hope with this collaboration, we at least advance a little bit on this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
okay.
Is that it? Well, so to close the event,
la
I would like
participación
to
de miles de empresas que nos acompañan hoy desde más de 40 países
that are with us today
mediterráneos.
from more than 40 Mediterranean countries and from other regions of the world. And we hope that the program that we prepared for this 15th edition of MedaWeek will be useful, and we hope it will serve companies in their path to drive forward cooperation. And I would invite you to follow the events over these 3 days, which will be broadcast live on streaming from Barcelona. Thank you, and above all, my thanks to the participants who've been with us from Barcelona.
Gracias desde Barcelona. Gracias.
Thank you. Shukran. Thank you.
Molt bé.